Good morning. Sorry about that. I had to clean the camera. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning. Just fixing pillow real quick so I can hold the camera steady because I've learned some things. And one of the wonderful random things I've learned, I don't know if they're random. Here's my pretty yellow flowers. They've been holding up really well. One of the random things I learned is that I was doing live on my tablet and the camera on my tablet was conserving disk space, so it was conserving memory by consolidating the light. So what it would do, it would make the light darker, which would make my video darker. You may not need to know all of this morning, but I just wanted to share with you that as I'm learning how to do this, maybe my journey will encourage you, will influence you. So I am playing Jonathan Nelson, Nothing Without You. And let your glory in me. Yeah. Just a little bit of praise music, worship music this morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Pastor Lisette of Restoration Fellowship, and it is Tuesday, 8 a.m., so you know what time it is. Talk about it Tuesday. I am so grateful for this week and for our remembrance of doing Talk About It Tuesday, just because it started in February and we've been going strong, and I've been really grateful for this time that we can share a little bit, that we know how to talk about some things with one another and talk about the ways that we can be better as followers, as believers, as those who are living our lives as justice workers in the world. And then those of us who are just waking up every day and doing our level best to simply make it from day to day. That Talk About It Tuesday gives you some things to think about and to talk about, most importantly, with the people that you love and care about, and even with strangers. And so today I'm going to talk a little bit about being an influence. So yesterday, June 12th, we honored and remembered the lives of the 49 people who were killed at the Orlando Pulse nightclub tragedy. This weekend, June 11th, on Sunday, thousands of people went up to, or down, depending on where you're coming from, And they went to the Capitol Pride in Washington, D.C., and the LGBTQ March for Equality. We celebrated last Sunday, June 4th, the first Sunday of June, Pentecost Sunday in the Church Universal. And I, as the pastor of Restoration Fellowship, have been focusing our reflections and our Bible study on justice for the month of June. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about today, being an influence. What does it mean for us to be an influence? What does it mean for you in your most amazing and fabulous and full authentic self to be able to influence the people and the space and the community around you? What is it that we need to remember? What is it that we need to work on? And what are the ways that we need to take care of ourselves? Because sometimes being an influence means that we first got to pour into ourselves, care for ourselves, give us space enough to get strong. And so I just have a couple of tips this morning around being an influence. Number one, if we're going to be an influence in the world, you have to start with yourself. If we're going to be an influence, the person that people know is making a difference in their community or just in their family, if we're going to be that person that helps to change hearts and minds, if we're going to be that person that causes others to look at the world differently, to look at themselves differently, to be able to influence them, right? To influence somebody is to mean that you have an impact on them so that they could possibly change. You have an impact on them so that they can possibly become better. And so in order for us to be an influence in this world, I think we need to start with ourselves. And sometimes that means remembering that you are amazing and you are fabulous and you are loved and lovable, that you are more than what you've been through and you are capable of doing so much more than what you think that you've been put on this earth to do, or even overcoming the negative messages that people have told you over and throughout your life. So if we're going to be an influence, let's start talking about the ways that we need to begin to affirm ourselves. So we've got to start with ourselves. We've got to start with ourselves. Number two, if we're going to be an influence, we've got to be in community. Now, sometimes being in community is challenging. It pushes our boundaries a little bit. I had a friend, and I often say it, that community ain't convenient, that the idea of being in community with one another. And that may mean something different for you, and it means for me, and I'll give you my operating definition, that to be in community is to show up without being invited to do anything, that my presence is enough. To be in community means that I get to listen, right? I listen to others. I also get to share. And we get to engage in conversation. So being in community also means that we get to hold one another up. And I will say with a smile that we get to also hold one another accountable. So if you're going to be an influence, and I know that if you're watching this, whether you're watching with me live or you are watching this video later, I think you're already an influence in your community. And sometimes we just need this reminder that being an influence means intentionally being in community, because sometimes community can be taxing and overwhelming and sometimes community can get on your nerves. But what I know and what I'm asking you to think about and to talk about today is the positives of community. How has community helped you? How has being in conversation with like-minded people or differently minded people helped you become a better person? And what does community mean for you? So we've got being an influence is one, you've got to start with yourself. Two, you need to be in community. And three, I would definitely say that being an influence, if we're going to work to be an influence in this world, that it's good to be informed. And when I use the word informed, I'm talking about all ways that we get knowledge and information. So I love to read a book or two or three at one time. So I say read books, read biographies that are encouraging to you, that are about figures who you aspire to be or are inspired by. I encourage you to read news stories and to read encouraging blog posts and things that will feed your soul and your spirit, things that will help to change even your mindset on things. Because the more that we're informed, I believe the better we can go out and be an influence, right? Good morning, Cheesy Evangelist Farmer. Good morning. And so recognizing that being an influence sometimes takes some work on our part. That when we show up in the space, can hold space for others, or we can share our knowledge, that being able to be an influence does mean that people see you in a particular way. They see your gifts and they see your unique personality. They are somehow excited by your presence, right? And so for many of us, being an influence starts with recognizing that people want to be around us. And so I'm giving us these tips, right, to remind us that, number one, we all are influential to somebody. We all impact somebody's life. And knowing that you impact somebody's life, I believe, is part of knowing how God operates in the world. How the Creator uniquely purposes each of us so that we can all become better, so that we can all work towards bringing forth the kingdom of God on earth as it is in heaven. Or in the words of Dr. Martin Luther King, so that we can bring forth the beloved community. And so this time of remembering Pride Month, this time of us reflecting on the ways that hate and evil still abound in our world, the ways that we are living in a time where we need one another more than ever. We need each other to laugh with and to cry with. We need each other to engage in passionate and heated conversations that end well, like that are loving in its foundation. But sometimes those good, engaging conversations, they provoke us to new thoughts and to new ways of being in the world, right? So recognizing that being an influence is really what I think that we need today. Because if we're going to do justice, if we're going to change the world that we see, if we're going to show this amazing love of the Creator, if we are going to live as our full authentic selves, if we are going to indeed be the change that we wish to see in the world, then that means that we are actively involved in and we're willing to work at being an influence. So, as you go about your day today, as you seek to reflect on these words that I've shared today, and even as you figure out what does it look like for you to be an influence, I encourage you to talk to people that you know. I encourage you to ask people, have I been impactful in your life? Have I influenced you in any way? And even I would say share with others. You know what? I just want to tell you that you you have influenced me in this way. You have helped me to eat better, or to think differently, or to smile, or to step out and to follow my dreams. You have been the one to remind me that I am more than enough. Whatever it is, be willing to share that with somebody today. That as you go out in the world, you're able, today I'm encouraging you to be able to not only work on how you can be an influence in others' lives, but be willing to share how others have influenced your life. It is absolutely amazing to me as I start navigating, or not start, but continue to be around Richmond and be out to eat, or be wherever I'm at a store or whatever. And I see people that I have been at community events with, or people have seen me because they've seen me at community events. And they say some of the nicest things. And for that, I'm always grateful. And I think that if we learn how to say nice things to one another, if we ground ourselves in recognizing that we've got to care for ourselves so that we can be the change, that we can be this light, that we can be this influence in the world, that I think the world can be a better place. So for some of us watching this or listening to this, the very idea of you being a positive influence in somebody's life is a radical thought. But I'm here as Pastor Lisette to tell you that you are lovable, that you are loved, that you are important, and that you make a difference in somebody's life. I appreciate you for who you are and for the way that you show up in the world. And if you remember these 3 tips, I think that it will help you, help all of us to continue to be better. And so the 3 tips are: number 1, start with yourself. If you're going to be an influence in the world, if you're going to make a difference, you've got to work with you by both affirming you, right? Like, you are good. You deserve success. You are amazing. You are loved and lovable. You are called with a purpose. You are given unique gifts that only you have. So you've got to start with yourself. Number 2, you've got to be willing to be in community. In order for us to really be an influence, we've got to be willing to receive and be impacted by others so that we can share with one another. And then you've got to be informed. Read some stuff. I've started the practice of listening to NPR. Now, I haven't quite found too many opportunities to share all my random pieces of knowledge, but I love feeling informed. I love believing that I am now a little bit different, can engage a little bit better because I'm informed, right? So, recognizing that being an influence involves those 3 things, I hopefully will get you through today. The other thing that I just reminded myself, or I just remembered as I was talking, is that today in Virginia, it is primary season. So go out and vote today in the primary. We have a current governor that is an amazing person, and we want to be able to replace him with someone that will continue this accepting and leverage. I don't want to leverage. Level is the right word. Who is receptive to communities, who is looking to not only protect those who are marginalized, but looking to work out compromises so that we can build a better Virginia. Be informed about who the candidates are. I'm not suggesting to you who you need to vote for, but I am saying go out and vote because this because this next governor's race in November is going to be important for the Commonwealth of Virginia. So today is June 13th, and in Virginia it is primary. So please go out and vote today. This is not only your civic duty or our civic duty, it is also the way that we are influenced. It is so good to see Kay on the Facebook Live with us. So glad that you are doing well. I was thinking about you, and I'll reach out to you after Talk About It Tuesday. But glad to see you in the space, and know that we've been praying for you. So we are going to go forth today and Talk About It Tuesday, and talk about what does it mean to be an influence. I appreciate you joining me, whether you join me live or you watch this video a little later. I will say that I'm Pastor Lisette of Restoration Fellowship, and we worship on Sundays at 3 p.m. at Diversity Richmond, which is 1407 Sherwood Avenue. We are not meeting in person this week. This particular Sunday, we will, however, host a conference call, what we call Conference Call Church. And so we will post that information and invite you to join us next Sunday, or this Sunday rather, which is Father's Day. And then we have our prayer call, and we definitely need prayer. And as well as Tuesdays, Talk About It Tuesday. So Thursday is 8 p.m. for our prayer call. Sunday, we will meet via conference call at 3 p.m. And then I'll be right here back on Restoration Fellowship page for our Talk About It Tuesday. I do hope that you recognize that God has created you for a unique purpose, and that I want you to stand in that so that you can be an influence today and every day. This is Pastor Lisette of Restoration Fellowship. I hope you have a fabulous day. Be sure to take care of yourself, and remember, God loves you, and so do I. Take care.